January 9th was a big day for Emily Henry fans worldwide, as the first adaptation of her novels, People We Meet on Vacation, finally arrived on Netflix. I'm 100% one of those people, and after watching the movie almost 3 times over the week and cherry picking my favorite scenes probably a dozen times, I have a lot to say. First of all, obviously you don't watch a movie thrice if you don't love it. It's been playing in my head non-stop since, and actually yesterday I missed my stop on public transportation because I was thinking about the dance scene. How ridiculous of me. However, there are some things comparing the movie to the book that I have some critique to share as well. All in all, I think the adaptation is pretty praiseworthy. Alex and Poppy's story is my second favorite out of all of Emily Henry's stories, so my expectations were high. I feel like my opinion on this really counts, and I don't think I've fallen in love with a rom-com like this in almost like a decade at this point, after seeing Notting Hill and All the Greats. So, well done, team. Let's start with cons to end on a positive note. I have a couple of sections with my review here. First being things that were dropped out. First of those being Alex's sad puppy face. I think there's no excuse really for dropping this one out. It wouldn't have needed much to put it in. Not much dialogue, not much screen time, and to me it's such a visible part of Alex's gentleness and humor and willingness to go out of his way to make Poppy laugh. Beforehand, I was a bit worried that Tom Blythe wasn't going to be goofy enough Alex, and I feel like he wasn't given a proper chance with dropping the sad puppy face. Number 2, awkward sightseeing in Barcelona/Palm Springs and build up for, this was such a shame. Even though I really did like all of the things they added to the story, I feel like I wish they didn't sacrifice this in order to fit those new scenes in. Number 3, Alex's cat. The tiny fighter quote wasn't just the same without it. Number 4, both of the main characters were dropped, 2 brothers, and I just wish they kept them. They wouldn't have to appear a lot at all. You could argue technically that Poppy's brothers maybe were still existing in the movie, but there was no sign of them, and Alex's 2 of 3 brothers definitely weren't even existing. Also, I wish that her childhood home would have been messier to be more in line with the original story. Again, something I think would have been fairly easy to do. Number 5, Poppy's internal dialogue. This is obviously much easier to do in a book form, I understand it. But for example, I wish we got something about her thinking about like the 5% of attraction possibility in their relationship already early on, and that sort of groundwork for their romance. Also Alex's lines of being in love with Poppy already since the camping trip were all dropped out. So I feel the movie plot did lack a little bit of that kind of consistency. Number 6, Alex's mom dying with childbirth. I think this was such an essential to the depth of Poppy's pregnancy scare for Alex, but maybe it would have needed quite a bit of effort to include. I don't know. Number 7, Poppy not being the one to initiate the trip to Barcelona/Palm Springs. And all of the texting was dropped too, which I found a little bit weird considering how important part of today's relationships it is. And finally, number 8, Poppy going to therapy with her best friend's mom, or like her best friend's mom to be her therapist in the end. I really like that part, and I wish it was even mentioned in the end scene. Okay, so those were the things I missed while watching the movie. Then I have a couple of other ones before moving to all the things that I loved. First some big ones and then some pet peeves. First, the biggest one being how Alex is proposing to Sarah. It felt like a revenge to me. That was a surprise for sure, and I didn't mind modifying the story as much as the timing being the very next day after Poppy trying to kiss him. That felt cruel, but then again, it wasn't not believable to me. I think it could have happened like that. It felt harsh. Also, something else that felt harsh was the line, I think this is our last trip together. I don't remember for sure, but I don't think there's anything remotely something like that in the book. And I feel like it made all the more sense in the original version of them, their relationship kind of slowly disappearing without that kind of statement. But then again, if he did propose to Sarah, then I guess it kind of makes sense. And then the big moments, like the kisses and I love yous, weren't so groundbreaking for me at all. I think a big part of it is that the complexity of falling in love with your friend and, for example, kissing them for the first time, I think it's a very, very big deal, and I also think this is slightly a problem in the book too, but I feel like it misses that kind of authenticity to not acknowledge it anyway, that okay, we are moving to a different territory now. And then the pet peeves. Shit was overused.
Oh shit. Shit, what?
I don't mind swearing, but it just got so repetitive, like pick another word. And then Poppy wasn't sick enough in the Norway scene. She was supposed to be so ill, she peed herself not being able to go to the bathroom. And here she was, wanting to eat chicken noodle soup. Like, I'm not buying it. I think it was quite out of character for Sarah to become a flight steward. It was almost like she wanting to be more like Poppy. And lastly, I didn't like Poppy's line, "How did you know I really wouldn't do that?" in the ankles praying scene. I know this is really petty, but that's one of my favorite bits from the original book, so just putting it out there. Okay, moving to the fun part. There's so much more that I loved than what I didn't. First category being quotes. I'm just gonna read them because I don't wanna take the bits out of the movie context anymore, and I don't wanna ruin those moments at all for anybody who hasn't watched the movie. I think these are kind of in chronological order. First one being when Poppy tells about her background to Alex. And she says, "Thanks for being the first person I've told that story to who didn't ask whether I did it." It was so beautiful. Then the one where they are in the boat with the, is it his name Buck? And Poppy's saying that he's so hot that she doesn't care what he's saying. And Alex says, "If I said that about a girl, you would say I was being creepy." And then Poppy says, "I know it's an unfair double standard." And that was just about their friendship. It felt so pure and sweet. Then maybe my favorite bit of the whole movie, the dance scene, obviously is everybody's favorite. But especially when they are talking at the bar with the other couple beforehand, and they are lying and making all kind of stuff up about their relationship and their life. And Poppy says that Alex works in CIA, and then they ask him, the other couple ask him if it's dangerous, and he says, "It's nothing compared to Gladys's work on the oil rigs." And Poppy spits her drink out of her mouth, and it gets me every time. Then in the sixth scene, when they don't get to go on holiday, Alex says, "What's the point of being in Norway if you're not there?" Poppy says in the scene that she was gonna take them to the hotel made of ice, and Alex says, "How about later on we can stick our heads in the freezer and pretend we're there, okay?" And that was like, I think the funnest line he had, and it just was so understatedly delivered, and I loved it. Their fight in Barcelona, I think it was really well done. Of course, it's because of you was a line I never much liked in the book, but Tom's delivery was golden. It was such Mr. Darcy to me, so British and effortless and meaningful all at the same time. And then I don't want to be your fucking friend later on. Then I really enjoyed what Emily did with the line, I was really careless with everything, when Poppy is meeting Sarah at the airport. And I really liked Swapna's line, where does the girl who's been everywhere go now? And I think it sums up like this big turning point in her life really beautifully. Then the Poppy's monologue in the end was one of my favorite bits too. So 1 week a year with you was safe. It's all I thought I could have. When I'm sad or sick, you're all I want. Oh man, it's just so beautiful. And Alex answers, as long as I'm with you, I don't care what we're doing. And lastly, with the sweatshirt joke in the very end, Alex says, you got me this, you can't make fun of me. And that felt like very original Poppy and Alex moment. Those were the quotes. Yeah, then in random order, some other things I really loved. I loved how the movie started with the expectations versus reality, and then cutting to Poppy's office straight from that. I think it was brilliant. Then I loved the physical comedy so much. I wasn't even expecting that. Like Poppy messing his car and then putting up the tent and the waves getting Alex's clothes and Poppy and her friend messing with the speeding bike, one calling Alex. With all the fun parts, I think they did the hard parts so well. The foursome tasting the wine was brilliant in its awkwardness, especially at the beginning of Barcelona trip. How they couldn't relax being in the same room was so painful to watch. My favorite movie is La La Land, and I've seen it like 20 times, probably. So many things in People We Meet on Vacation actually reminded me of La La Land, and that's a high compliment in my books. The colors at some point, like in the shower tiny scene, her starting to cry after the fight, reminded me really much, like with the timing and everything, of La La Land. And of course, her dancing reminded me of Mia so much, and I loved it so much. Also, the nods to the book aesthetic were so sweet. Obviously, especially the cover remaking and putting it at the very end of the movie, but also like the graphics of the credits and the font with moving to different summers being the same font as in the book cover. I also think the movement in the timeline was very well done and not especially easy to do either. As I already said, I did like the stuff they added. The extended road trip, the wishing well, the sex talk. But as I already said, also if I had a choice between those and the current timeline, I would have preferred the latter. Some really strong side characters were Swapna and Nam, who managed to be a presence with the really little screen time they had. The New Orleans bit was golden. It looked like every foodie's dream. And the dance scene, come on! Her putting on the same song that annoyed him when they first met. And then the twinkly lights coming on almost as a encouragement for him to put himself out there with the moves. There were just so many good bits there. I also loved the wooden sculpture appearing in Poppy's apartment later on, especially when she starts crying looking at it coming home from Barcelona. It's so funny and so heartbreaking at the same time. And also when coming home, there's still the same lime in her fridge and nothing else. They managed to talk about her needing of a change without any words used, and well done. And lastly, the chasing scene in the end was perfect. I loved that they switched the gender roles. I love that Poppy gets a chance to show up with willingness to do something she hates for him. I loved the staging of showing the viewer first that they're gonna miss each other. And I loved the end voiceover scene. And that they get a dachshund and call him Kenny G. That was like a cherry on top, because I would like a dachshund myself. So those were my thoughts on people we meet on vacation. I anticipated more than Christmas, to be honest, and I wasn't let down. Maybe after the first view I was a bit in shock, almost. Like now it's finally here, but the more I watch it, the more I love it. And to me that's a sign of a great rom-com. If I didn't mention something that you thought about the movie, let's chat about that. Good luck for us for waiting the next adaptation. But we all love them, so with this adaptation I really did feel the care that they put into making it and making us readers proud. And they did. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.